Hey, this is Knife Standards. Today I'm going to be doing a video that's a little bit different than my normal videos. This is my 300th video, which is wild. I didn't know if I would get to 300 videos, that I would be able to make 300 videos about knives and something that I love this much, and be able to make videos on them, and you guys comment and subscribe, and we talk knives. And it's pretty awesome. I'm very grateful for that and for you guys. So I want to say thank you for the support, but let's get into the video. Let's talk knives as we always do. But this video is going to be a little bit different. It is my 300th video, so I wanted to do something a little bit special. And as you can see, I have a bunch of knives kind of laid out on my table, on my desk. And what I'm going to do in this video is talk about what makes a knife appealing to me. What goes into my process? What do I like about a knife? You know, what am I looking for? What first catches my eye? And this is, of course, is all a personal preference and my opinion. But what catches my eye? What goes into my process of, oh, I gotta have that knife, or oh, I really want that one, or oh, I'm gonna buy it, or I'm definitely buying that knife, or as soon as it drops, I gotta get one. And again, a lot of this is personal preference, but I want to kind of go through. You know, I think there's like 5 or 6 things that personally I kind of go through and check out and look for before I get into a knife, or as I'm starting to discover a brand or a maker, a knife, and it really kind of turns me on to the knife. So I'm going to go through these things. We'll talk about my process and kind of what I look for, and then hopefully I hear from you guys, and you can let me know what you're into and what you look for when you're gonna buy a knife, or when you're looking to buy a knife, or what interests you when you see someone with a knife, or when you see a new knife come out. So we'll get into it in just a second. Of course, you can follow me at Knife Standards, follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for a lot more knife content and weekly knife reviews. I think we are coming up on 3,000 followers on Instagram, and something like almost 2,000 on YouTube, 2,000 subs on YouTube. I don't know, it's wild. I remember when I had my first follower and my first subscriber, and it was me. I was my own first subscriber and follower. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's get this out of the way, and let's talk, let's talk knives. The first thing, which I'm just going to kind of rearrange these. The first thing that comes to mind for me, that interests me in a knife, of course, is aesthetics. What the knife looks like. Because that's the first thing you see. You see the knife and you think, yeah or nah. And now there are other things that can change your mind. And you might see a knife that's ugly, and then maybe the next week it's not so ugly, and then you think, well, maybe I need to try that, and then you hear more about it, and then it kind of grows on you. It's happened to me dozens of times. But that kind of first impression when you first see a knife, that's aesthetics. What does the knife look like? Is it, does it have some crazy carbon fiber? You see this, you see the tall blade, you think, wow, whoa, what is that? By the way, this is the Quiet Carry 9. Do you see this and go, oh, yeah, it's okay. It's plain titanium. All right. And I'm talking aesthetics, positive, negative, personal opinion, and everything in between. Do you see this and go, oh my God, what is that? Is that a PM2? What? Come on. So I think the first thing that I look for is what the knife looks like. You see, this milling pattern, you think, whoa, I want to know more about that. Or you see this knurling, you think, ooh, okay. Or you see this edge, this bevel, you think, whoa, what is that all about? So again, sometimes it can be the aesthetics what that knife looks like, you see it and you think, yeah, I want it immediately, or maybe I just want to know a little bit more about it, and it kind of gets you interested. So that's one thing, and this is not in any particular order. I'm not going to order, this list. It's just kind of in no particular order, but they're all on my list. Anyway, so the second thing for me personally is build quality. So we're talking materials and kind of who it's made by and where it's made. So I'll kind of go through some of these knives. Is the knife high quality materials? And sometimes it might be hard to tell initially. Luckily, I've handled enough knives and I know enough about knives where I can tell pretty quickly. But it might not be easy to tell. And is the knife made by a mystery OEM, like this Quiet Carry Drift? Is it made by two dudes in their garage, like this Monterey Bay Knives Sea Otter? And by the way, I'm going to go through all these knives and list them. If you're curious what these are, if you don't recognize them, I will tell you. Is the knife, and when I say build quality, I mean the materials and how it's put together and kind of who it's put together by. Is every piece of the knife, or almost every piece of the knife, made in-house by a couple of guys? The screws, the bearings. I think the only thing that's not made in-house by Oz is the balls for the bearings, like the actual bearings, but I might be wrong on that. I don't know. But they're doing every process and making everything. They have a Swiss lathe. They're doing every process in-house, which is pretty wild. So does that make a difference to you? Does it make a difference if it's made by a big company like Spyderco, or if it is made by one guy like this Perry Customs Ronin made by Nathaniel Perry? Luckily, everything on the table, the build quality is there. These are high quality materials. We got a lot of titanium. We got some MagnaCut. We got some Vanex. It's all good over here. But you got to think, especially when you don't know a lot about the knife, you got to think, is this high quality? How much am I paying for that? And price does factor into it a little bit. I'll touch on the price just real quick. For me, the price is kind of last on my list. And I look at all these other things and I think, does it check all of the other boxes? And then I consider the price. Because usually I will be convinced one way or the other. By the time I get to the price, it either all adds up or it doesn't. I think, yep, it's made like this. It's made by that person. Aesthetically, it's great. Blah, 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 blah. And I think, yeah, that's worth it. Or I think, whoa, way out of there, out of the ballpark price. No thanks, I'll hold off. But usually price is the last thing I consider personally. So anyway, let's get back to it. Build quality, how it's put together. Luckily, these are all put together extremely well. But you got to consider not only the build quality, but who are the people behind the knives. And if we kind of go through these, you have one guy that is behind Quiet Carry, but it is a mystery OEM. So you don't really know who's making the knives. You know who's running the company, kind of, but you don't really know who makes these, which is, for some people, they don't care at all. And some people, it kind of weirds them out that they don't know who's making these. Or you have Oz Machine Company Roosevelt. You know exactly who's making them, where it's made. Of course, American made. Does that matter to you? American made versus overseas, or in a different country versus America. That might matter a little bit to you. Might matter a lot. Might be a deal breaker. It's personal preference. Is it made by two guys that you've met and talked knives with, like Sanford Owen and Ray Laconico? Like the Sea Otter, where you can ask them and say, hey, how'd you who's heat treating that? Or how'd you make that? Or wow, I love that knife. And someone responds, and the person that responds is the guy who made the knife. That's pretty cool. Is it made by a giant company where I have no idea who made this? It's just, it's the Spyderco conglomerate, which is fine. Some people, and I'm not saying any of these things are negative or positive. They're just two sides of the same coin, And, or is it made by one guy, custom made, where one guy literally shaped the titanium, he treated the blade, did every process to get this thing built by hand? Is it an OEM that you know? Is it OEM'd by Riot? Is it OEM'd by Bestech? Is it a designer that you know or you follow their stuff? Is it a maker? These are all questions that might matter a lot to you. They might not matter at all. I'll put this down and this down. But you gotta, I think, at least for me, I ask myself those questions. I think, well, who's behind these knives? Is Chavez answering the emails, or does he really have that much to do with the knives? I don't know. I'm not sure. Is he on Instagram? I don't think so. Does that matter to me personally? A little bit lately, yeah. Because I think it's important to be able to talk with the people, and you can't always do it. I'm not bugging, Oz Machine Company about their knives. But if I want to say, hey, wow, your knife is amazing. I love it. Great job. It's nice to hear back from the people that you bought a knife from, especially an expensive knife. And it doesn't mean that, I'm messaging everyone in this category, in this, all these knives every day. Of course not. But it's nice to be able to talk with the person who designed the knife, even just for one message, or to just say, hey, great knife, or good work, or hey, there's a little issue. Do you think you can take care of it? All of that stuff matters to me personally, okay? So let's go ahead and move on from there. We got another little category, which is experiencing the knife, experiencing something about the knife. And what I mean by that is maybe you've never experienced MagnaCut before. So you see the Oz Machine Company Roosevelt, or you see the RR Standard, and you think, I don't have any knives in MagnaCut. You know what? I want that to experience the MagnaCut. Or maybe you've never experienced a custom knife. So you want that experience of a knife that was built by hand and the titanium was shaped by hand. Or maybe you want something in a certain blade steel Vanex, or you haven't had a carbon fiber inlay, or whatever it may be. Maybe you haven't had a titanium knife. Maybe you've had carbon fiber. Maybe you haven't had a knife on bearings or washers, or vice versa. So you want or this is a good example. This is my first real legit Spyderco. So I wanted to experience Spyderco. So I feel like this was a good one to do it with. But a lot of times I will look at a knife and think, I want to experience that, or experience that action. And that brings me to my next category, which is action. And that's a big part of it. How is the action on the knife, and what type of action are you really looking for? Are you looking for something that snaps out? Are you looking for a stronger detent? Are you looking for a really satisfying middle finger flick? Are you looking for drop shut? Are you looking for a controlled close? This is on washers, so I'm going to do a nice controlled close on that guy. Do I want something kind of smooth, shake shut? These are all important things to consider. Nice, a couple shakers. This guy should drop. So it depends what type of action you like and what type of action you want to experience, but that plays into my decisions. And And I don't think one type of action is better than the other. And I've gone from loving drop shut to loving, really nice controlled close. And close, not clothes. I close. But I have respect and I enjoy both types of action and everything in between. A nice, slow, controlled close, something that kind of shakes shut, a nice kind of little hydraulic action, or the guillotine, what's the company? The Grimsmo, just, chop your finger off guillotine. These are all great actions, in my opinion. So it depends what you're looking for. And personally, for me, it depends. It depends. I have a decent collection, so it kind of depends on what I'm in the mood for, what I'm looking for at that moment. But that brings me to my final point, my final category, which is this a knife that you are going to? What's the use? What's the use for the knife? Is this something that you are going to use every day and destroy and beat up? Is this something that you are going to collect? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with either of those. I do both. I have knives that I'm destroying and beat up. I have knives that I carry sometimes, and then I have knives that I carry never. And I think that we should respect all those categories and choices. But you have to think to yourself, if I'm going to buy a knife, is this something I'm going to use all the time, or is this going in my collection? Because personally, I'm a user, but I'm also a collector. So I have knives that, for example, my, I don't know where it is, but my Rubens titanium tool Roan, that is in my collection. I'm not using that guy. That is, to me, it's like an art piece. So I definitely have those knives, but I also have knives that I beat up and destroy every day, and then everything in between. So you have to think, what is the use for this knife? And that's kind of my process. I go from aesthetics, build quality, kind of who's behind the company. Am I going to go out and buy a Medford or a Hinderer tomorrow? No, because it doesn't appeal to me. The having nothing to do with the design language, it just doesn't appeal to me. The people behind the knives, not my thing. So more and more, I am enjoying the knife based not only on the aesthetics, the action, what I'm going to use it for, but the people behind the knife. And I've talked about this a little bit before. The people behind the knife, where and how it was made, and of course, the quality of the ingredients. So I hope you guys consider all those things when you buy your next knife, and definitely let me know if I'm forgetting anything or something that you like to consider before you buy your knives, or when you're looking at a knife to buy. I think we all have those endless grail lists, because I'm a knife enthusiast before anything. I'm also a designer and a collector and a reviewer, but I'm a knife enthusiast before anything. So I love talking knives and collecting and carrying and using, and it's a lot of fun for me. So let me know what you guys are carrying, and of course, what you guys think about and consider before you make a knife purchase. Let me know in the comments. This has been Knife Standards 300th video. Definitely won't be the last. I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching.